During my time covering the classroom of the elite, I came across a lot of videos about Ayanokoji on my timeline because I began to do a little bit of research on him. Videos like how to be like Ayanokoji, how to think like Ayanokoji, and how to even make friends like Ayanokoji all came up. I'm seriously not making this up. Just type Ayanokoji in your search bar to see what I'm talking about. I came across certain shots that were spoiling the story for me, which is cool. I'm not bothered at all because it's my fault to think it was okay to search for Ayanokoji without being spoiled. But I get it. He gets all of us excited.
Pause.
One thing that intrigued me was a certain shot. It was Ayanokoji versus Yuichi Katagiri, and I was like, who the fuck is that?
Who the fuck is that?
So I watched the video, and because I had watched Classroom of the Elite, I was obviously a bit biased towards Ayanokoji. But in the video, when it came to manipulation, the person gave it to Yuichi, and I was like, what? Hasn't he seen my boy, my homie, Ayanokoji? This guy uses his friends as tools, bro. What is he talking about?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So I was like, okay, fine, I'll bite. What anime is he from anyway? Let me give it a shot and find out if it's true. What kind of anime is this then? Who is this man people give so much respect to? What is the name of the anime that spawned a monster comparable or even worse than the likes of Ayanokoji? What is Tomodachi Game? Tomodachi Game is an anime and manga based on a concept similar to the Squid Game. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Okay, let's get serious. Tomodachi Game or Friend Game is an anime that follows our main man, Katagiri Yuuichi. He's a second-year high school student who seems to be struggling with money issues, but he works very hard to make up for it. On one fateful day, it had come to the attention of the class that 2 million yen was missing. You see, the school had organized a school trip and had decided to collect 70,000 yen each from every student. This amounted to approximately 2 million yen and was given to the assistant class president to keep, since she was more capable than her male counterpart. But the money still turned up missing. This wasn't good because people began to talk. Heck, even Yuichi became a suspect as well because he is kinda poor. He then unknowingly gets thrusted into the game, presumably by one of his closest friends, in order for them to pay off their debt. But this is no ordinary game. Much like Squid Game, there are very high stakes involved. You instantly accrue a debt of 20 million yen, which is split between the group of 5 friends. So, once entered, everyone now has a debt to the amount of 4 million. Side note, since the show is Japanese, any amount mentioned is definitely in yen. The game constantly tries to put your friendship to the test, and every game lost adds to your cumulative debt, since the point of the game is to see how strong the friendship is between a group of friends. Most of these tests are usually aimed at poking holes through that bond, mainly to cause fragile friendships to rip apart at the seams. Take the first game for example. It was quite simple. Each person takes a turn to ask a question. They all need to answer correctly in unison. When they do, they are supposed to place their hand on the coin together and move it to the right answer. To each question they get right, their debt will be reduced by 400,000, and if they win, they receive 2 million. And even if one person chooses wrongly, then the wrong answer will be chosen regardless of what the majority chose. But the person who comes in last will receive the debt of everyone as a penalty. Lastly, they are not supposed to speak to each other while playing the game. Failure to comply will double the offender's debt. You got all that? Good. So, the first person is selected to ask a question. The game secretly informs the reader to ask any question he or she desires, even though there's a slight caveat to that, but I'll get back to that in a second. I'm just trying to paint a certain picture. So, with this freedom, the contestant in particular can ask their friends any question he or she wants. The easier the better, right? So that they will all be able to answer correctly in order to clear the game quickly and prove that their so-called friendship is unmatched. So, the first person goes and asks the first question. The question was really easy and a guaranteed success. They all agreed in unison to pick yes. So, as the announcer makes the chant, they begin to move the coin to the agreed answer, and the answer it landed on was no. Shocking, right? The answer was so easy, everyone would have been able to answer correctly. They were all in agreement, so why? Why no? The next person went up to ask the next question. Another easy question. Specifically, does 1 plus 1 equal 2? We all know the answer to that, right? It's definitely yes. So, They move the coin to the answer and it still lands on no. At this point, you will start to see what's happening. There is definitely a traitor within their midst. Someone is deliberately choosing the wrong answer, but for what reason? The next person steps up with another easy question and the answer is still no. For a game that's all about testing friendships, this one was fairly easy, so why are they failing? This could have been an easy win, so why? Definitely someone wants to sabotage the group, but who is that person? Finally, our main man Yuichi gets his chance to ask the question. Here, we are finally shown all the pieces at play and what has been withheld from us, the viewer. Like the condition at the bottom of the paper, if the coin goes to yes, the game has been cleared. But if the coin goes to no, only the reader's debt will be halved, which makes you think all the people that came before chose very easy questions, but the coin still landed on no. Why is that? They could have easily cleared the game with yes. Why no? Is it that everyone in the group is looking out for themselves by halving their personal debt, or is there actually a traitor in their midst? And who is that person? And why is that person doing this? Because clearing the game will be better than halving your personal debt, so all these questions are running through our minds, but do not forget, this is a game about trusting one's friends. Yuichi asks his question, and the answer still lands on no. So, the final person gets to ask the last question. Here, Yuichi figures out that the final question might be different from the ones read previously, and he wasn't too far off. The final question lacked the condition that will enable one to halve his or her personal debt. So, unfortunately, if they still chose no as the final answer, they lose the game and retain their current debt. This is where our big brain boy makes his move. He spoke, therefore obtaining the penalty of doubling his remaining debt. He then calls out every player that went before him, with a slight threat hanging behind his words, to further confuse the traitor within the group by flipping one part of the rule against them, creating his own, stating, the condition on his card mentioned that the one with the most debt wins. At first, they may seem like empty words, but if you think it over again, and if it all tends to be true, then all the traitor's hard work was for nothing. Thinking about it is pretty brilliant because it makes you wonder about certain things. Maybe everyone had a different set of rules for one. So how far are you willing to go and call his bluff? Choose no and incur all the debts, or play it safe and choose yes and clear the game. Either way, you still win by choosing yes. So Kokorogi asks the final question. Will we always be friends? And naturally, the answer was yes. Pretty genius if you ask me. And this was just the first game. What intrigued me was how fast Yuichi was able to come up with this solution quickly, because he seemed just as confused as we were. Yuichi is one strange guy. He comes across as normal, your average high school student. He's not stoic like Ayanokoji. He acts like a typical student. He's not very serious, but he works really hard and he relates to people and his closest friends as normal as any guy would. So hiding this kind of intellect behind such an easygoing guy was pretty interesting, because normally anime characters like that are usually dumb. They may be strong but not particularly smart, so turning the tables on the supposed traitor in that instance was just simply amazing. That's some pretty good stuff.
This shit good.
And with this, I knew I was in for a wild ride. Even though the first season doesn't cover all the games, the ones it was able to cover was still pretty exciting for me. My first introduction to smart-ass characters in anime was through Death Note. Light and L's mind games really got me invested in the series, and was a breath of fresh air from all the battle shonen I was consuming at the time. I also came across Code Geass. I don't know, it didn't really have the same highs I got while watching Death Note. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. But I will have to revisit it again someday because people really dig Lelouch for some reason. I gotta say, these mind games in anime really do fascinate me, and over the years, I never actually searched for more anime with similar content. Luckily, I found the Classroom of the Elite, and thanks to Ayanokoji for being such a badass, he tends to get compared to other geniuses, which in turn led me to Yuichi. Katagiri Yuuichi and Kiyotaka Ayanokoji are quite similar in certain aspects, and really different in others. And with guys like these, I feel it's kinda hard to pinpoint their true nature, so I just take them as they are. Geniuses who hide their skills behind the facade of a normal high school student. So, from what I know from Tomodachi Game and Classroom of the Elite, I know that Ayanokoji has a bit more than IQ. He's also quite skilled and athletic, among other things. But what I got from Yuichi, from just the first season I watched by the way, is Even though he comes across as a normal guy, his intelligence tends to be a bit darker and more twisted, cunning if you will, or at least that was what I was getting from him. He's an expert at reading people and setting traps, because from a game that's supposed to test you and your relationships, he was also setting his own personal traps in order to beat the game. Like, what the hell, how smart must you be in order to pull that off? Because let's take my boy Ayanokoji. If you've read the light novel, he actually thinks about everything, even the minute details. So him coming up with a strategy to win, even though it's amazing, is within the rules of logic, maybe just something you wouldn't think of at that second. Unless you sit back and go through all the details properly, he really understands the rules and looks for the loopholes, and if there aren't any, he isn't afraid to lose. He doesn't take losses as the end, but just a stepping stone to another big win, which is pretty cool for me. But don't get me wrong, he still does whatever it takes to win, even if he has to manipulate someone to do it. And he does all of this under a cool demeanor. That's why I like him so much, to be honest. And from what I've seen from Yuichi so far, putting these two up against each other is just too crazy because they are both crazy manipulators. They think super fast, and you definitely don't know what they are thinking or how they think. They understand human nature so well. So imagine a situation where Yuichi is trying to set a trap for Ayanokoji. How can you be sure that Ayanokoji will fall for it? Because he isn't an open book like most people. What if he figures that out? What will Yuichi do then? How far is he willing to go, I wonder? Ayanokoji, on the other hand, will be jealous of how Yuichi is able to act so normally because his stoic performances wouldn't help him out against someone who is very good at acting like Yuichi. But then again, it does make him hard to read. Anyways, I feel it isn't that easy, and even though I'm a bit biased towards Ayanokoji, Yuichi is a freaking monster and I love it. There's so much to consider when pitting characters like these two against each other, which is pretty great. Maybe I'll do an in-depth versus video later in the future, when I finally come around to complete both series. But with that said, let me know your thoughts about Tomodachi Game. What did you think about it? What are your thoughts about Yuichi? Do you think he's smarter than Ayanokoji? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And always remember to keep moving forward.
なんで俺しか陰口入れてないんだよ